what would be your position on that?
Through the chair, if the variance application is approved at the OMB, then we would have no authority to overrule that approval. So we would have to comply with the order issued by the Ontario Municipal Board.
Thank you.
Any further questions of staff? Seeing none?
So we have before us a property which, as I say, is a little unusual for my area. We have a private driveway where, I need my motion. Yes, I'm going to be supporting the staff recommendation on this one. Sorry. I'm doing the staff recommendation to deny this. Sorry, that's it. We have before us a property with a private driveway, and they can park as many cars as they want to or are able to on this private driveway. This is not something we have too often. Most of our driveways in my ward are mutual driveways. We've also had a fair amount of construction work going on at this property, and we had, as I say, a committee of adjustment application to add a third dwelling to the basement of this building. This has been denied, and it was denied March 23rd, but obviously the neighbors weren't informed about this. They have this is a duplex. They have cars parking there now. They have 3 cars actually parking there now. So my feeling is that he's got enough cars. By adding more hard surface, he's probably going to add more cars. Just to touch a little bit on the poll, because I just in the last item, the councillor was talking about how polls are quite important. 80% of the neighbours voted against allowing this parking pad. That's 80%. We don't get too many negative polls in my area. I think I've maybe had half a dozen in 7 years. So as the councillor beside me suggested, we should support the local residents. We don't have any other parking pads in this neighbourhood. There are some spots on the street, and I have heard from quite a few of the neighbours concerned about this. In fact, in our package today, I don't know how many councillors actually look at the correspondence we receive on our desks when we arrive. Sometimes we don't have time, I appreciate that. But we do have 2 other letters from residents in the neighbourhood also asking us to support the staff and to deny this request. So I am supporting staff recommendation, listening to my local residents, and this gentleman has plenty of parking already. It's not as if he has no parking. So thank you.
Question the mover.
Just one question. Are you aware, is there an appeal at the OMB on this one?
Not as far as I know, because this was just approved on March 23rd. I have not heard from the owner at all.
Okay.
The owner has never contacted my office. Only the neighbours have contacted my office.
Okay,
I do understand that the neighbour doesn't actually live here at this address.
Any further speakers? Seeing none? The motion on the screen? Just moving the staff recommendations? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, next EY 22.4, Ontario Heritage Act, 68 Daisy Avenue. I'm going to be deferring to next day. Any speakers on the item? 68 Daisy? Seeing none? Questions of staff? Okay, I'll be moving deferral to next day. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. EY 22.5, inclusion of the City of Toronto's Heritage Register 1 Blue Goose Street. 2 speakers. Martin Gerwin. Good morning, welcome, sir. You have 5 minutes.
Good morning, my name is Martin Gerwin. I'm one of the co-chairs of the steering committee of the Etobicoke Community Lakeshore Network. And I won't need all of my 5 minutes because we are here to support the application for heritage status for the Blue Goose Inn. it's a pleasure to be speaking briefly in favor of a motion of this kind. It represents the sort of development that our organization is very pleased to see in our neighborhood. It preserves a landmark in the neighborhood that's very fondly regarded by many people, and I understand there's a development proposal in the works that would see a microbrewery in part of the property, and the heritage designation is one step towards bringing that to fruition. And the microbrewery would be a nod to the social heritage of this location and its involvement with the good times and the enjoyment of beer. For all of these reasons, we support this listing of the Blue Goose Inn as a heritage building and hope to see this development proposal carried out. Thank you.
Any questions? Councillor Hawley?
Thank you. I think most of the members of the committee are familiar with that. And I don't know, did you see the letter from Councillor Grimes that's supporting this and moving forward?
I knew of its existence, yes.
Great. So I think we're all in alignment on this, and I think that's exciting.
Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you. Next speaker, Judith Rutledge.
Good morning, and thank you for this opportunity to speak with you. I am also co-chair of the Mimico Lakeshore Community Network, and as my husband said, we strongly support the preserving of this part of our community's heritage. What I want to talk about is I want to express to you an additional point of view. While honoring our links to the past is part of maintaining and building a vibrant and healthy community, and while bricks and mortar are really crucial, I'd like to take this opportunity to talk about the community's social heritage, the part that affects actual people who are regular patrons of number 1 Blue Goose Street. I'm not one, I've been there once, but members of our community go to number 1 Blue Goose Street. For them, it's an important, affordable meeting place. Groups meet there to celebrate. I'm told that local sports teams go there, hockey teams, for instance. And our Councillor Grimes, who supports sports in this area so strongly, would be very well aware of this too. There's weekend entertainment there. Now, according to the new redevelopment plans, which people who go to the tavern have examined, there won't be enough parking spaces for what is now the regular clientele, and they fear that the tavern won't be viable if people cannot find a parking place. They also worry that if people are housed above the new edifice, that they will complain about the noise underneath them. We are very glad that the building will remain, but there'll also be sadness about the loss of this very important social part of our heritage. And we'd be even sadder if there's no replacement. We know that where people want pubs and taverns appear. And it's also the same with housing. But is it a replacement? Some of the housing that is coming to Mimico is not affordable for ordinary people who already live here. So, in conclusion, I thank you for your consideration. We do support the preservation of this building, but we hope also that in the future some attention will be given to those people in the community who currently make full use of the building as it now stands. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Seeing none, thank you. Questions of staff? Seeing none. Speakers? Seeing none. I brought a letter to this council's attention a few months back, back in November of 2016, asking for Heritage to look at this, to make this a heritage property, and I'm glad this report came back to put it on the list. The Blue Goose is a very famous hotel, not only in our community, but across the city and across North America. During NHL telecast in Chicago, it's been mentioned when David Bolin was playing for the Stanley Cup, and he scored a major, huge goal for the Blackhawks. The announcer said the boys at the Blue Goose will be very happy to see that. So it's been home to the Stanley Cup on 2 occasions I can remember at least. The Stanley Cup's been brought there when David Bolin won his gold medal. For the World Juniors, it was brought there. The Grey Cup is visited there. There's a very famous back wall. Mrs. Rutledge is right. Many sport teams partake there after playing baseball. Teachers from St. Leo's School for years have congregated thereafter on a Friday afternoon. And on Sunday, it's one of the best jazz on Sunday afternoon that you can see. But it's a very important piece of history in Mimico. People walk there. My father-in-law, he's been going there for years. Him and his brothers and then his father used to walk there every Saturday afternoon. They would go like clockwork from 3:30 to 5:30. But it's a staple in the community, very important. And then Mrs. Rutledge said the fabric of the community. If it was lost, it would be very upsetting, and I'd probably be lynched up if that went down. So anyways, I'm going to hope you guys support this. I'm going to ask for a recorded vote, and we're going to hope the Blue Goose is there for many, many years. It used to be the Windsor Hotel back in 1909. And I'll just give one more list before you vote. How it got the name the Blue Goose, when the rail had no fence there, an engine used to whip up and down the tracks. He had a big blue engine, and his name was the Goose, and his engine was blue, and he would stop, pull over, run across the tracks, whip in the side door, have a couple of quick drafts, which probably wouldn't be allowed to even back up, but that's how the Blue Goose name came. The Shemy family gave that to that back, I think, in 1971. It changed the Blue Goose. But very important piece, so please, I'm asking for your support on this and ask for a recorded vote. All in favor? Councilor DeGiorgio, Councilor Doucette, Councilor Palacio, Councilor Nunziata, Deputy Mayor Crescenti, Councilor Grimes, Councilor Holiday, Councilor Campbell, and Councilor Ford. That carries unanimous. Thank you. Okay, 22.14, permanent closure of portions of Valley Crescent abutting the rear of 75 to 81 Westbury Crescent. We have a speaker, Edward Perticanti. Not here. Any further speakers to the item? Louis, you want to speak to the item? No? Okay, we'll bring in questions of staff.
No questions.
Seeing none, Councilor DeGiorgio.
Yeah. If I could just have staff put up the motion that I showed the person that was intending to speak. This is a further direction to Transportation Department to investigate prohibiting parking at the termination of Valley Crescent. There's a bit of a parking problem that impedes the use of the street at that end of the crescent, and I'm asking staff to do a further, not a report, but rather introduce signage that is appropriate to deal with some of the problems there. So that's the intent of this motion. So,
Any further speakers? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay.
so that's an amendment, right? That would be an amendment to the,
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Moving along. Going back to EY 22.32. This is Franklin Horner Community Center asking to put the signage up for some of their special events. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. EY 22.33. Request for approval of temporary signage permits for community event for Lakeshore Mardi Gras. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Construction staging 22.34 for the Kingsway 2800 Bloor Street West. This is from Councillor, who's this from? DeChano. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. EY 22.35, moved by myself. Pedersen crossover request for Royark Road. I'm asking staff to look at some crossovers, the new PXO crossovers. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. 22.36, Councillor Holiday. But the GTA, Councillor, you want to explain? You should explain this one.
Speak to it,
Sure.
because we're adding, or we vote.
We're dealing with it right now.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to just elaborate on this. So, about a month ago, the Greater Toronto Airports Authority commenced construction of an east-west runway, the north end of the airport. And what's happened because of the construction, a lot of the aircraft have had to reroute and use the north-south runways. And if you've worked in this building at all in the last little while, you'll have noticed a significant increase in air traffic. I know that it has affected Councillor Grimes' neighborhoods that we look after and the neighborhoods that I look after in central and south Etobicoke. Residents have been very concerned. They have noticed this, and I don't mean those that pay attention to the flights, but just your average person on the sidewalk will point out that there's been a whole bunch more aircraft. So there was a meeting at the Greater Toronto Airports Authority in which they went through some of this information. And I felt it was important to reflect the wishes of our community, and that is to ask the airport to get the construction done as quickly as possible so that we can return back to a normal condition. And secondly, and most importantly, is during the public meeting and through this process, many residents became aware of, and the airport elaborated on some study work that is ongoing, where they are contemplating making some permanent changes to runway usage patterns. And the idea is they will modify what's called preferential runways, meaning they will send some of the aircraft to use the north and south runways on a permanent basis. Still in the contemplation stage, but since they are collecting public feedback until the end of the month, I thought that having this council take a position to say that we don't want changes that would bring additional aircraft noise to our communities, I felt would be a powerful statement. I think everybody can stand behind that. Even if it doesn't affect your ward, it is affecting this part of the city. I hope you can support this motion. If you have any questions about it, I'm pleased to answer those.
Councillor Ford, question or speaking? Speak? Okay, Councillor Ford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to be very brief with my comments here. But sitting on CNAC, which is the Noise Advisory Committee for the Greater Toronto Airports Authority, my office has gotten many of complaints from other councillors' wards. I have spoken to numerous councillors within this committee also, and residents. So just to put on record that I have spoken with CNAC and their committee, and I have addressed those concerns to that committee, and I'll also be supporting the Etobicoke York Community Council recommendations or motion.
Thank you, Councillor Ford. Councillor Doucette to speak.
So I do support this, but right now I think I'm getting less planes flying over my ward because of a construction. Because 5 years ago they changed the flight paths. They moved it from the 4 kilometers distance between incoming and outgoing planes to 5 kilometers, which puts it straight over Hyde Park and over Grenadier Pond. And we started experiencing a lot more noise complaints, smelling the fumes as the planes drop whatever they drop. So I sympathize with your councillor, Councillor Holiday. I understand where you're coming from because we've been experiencing this for a while. The problem is, we know that these planes have to come in. We know that they try and bring the planes in over the least density there is on the ground. So as much as I appreciate you don't want these coming over your ward, if they don't come over your ward, they're going to come over someone else's ward. I think we need to all stick together and make sure that we can try and get these planes coming in higher and coming in steeper, and therefore they don't actually come so low over our properties. I sit in my back garden and I see these planes constantly, one after another after another. So I understand where you're coming from. I really do. I will support you, but as I say, while my ward is quieter, yours is noisy. When yours is quieter, mine will be noisy. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further speakers? I'll speak very quickly. I have an amendment. Etobicoke York Community Council amend recommendation number 3 to provide the copy of this item before to the MPs for the area, James Maloney and Boris Wojcicki. Jesneski, if anyone can spell that, I'll buy them a beer. I think we're looking that up, so Rosemary's working on that. So I will be supporting Councillor Holiday, and I want to thank
Could I
Councillor
make a
Ford.
friendly amendment to yours?
Yes.
I'd like to add my MP to there,
Okay.
Arif Rani.
I would like to thank Councillor Ford and Councillor Deputy Mayor Crisanti. We had a meeting in Alderwood on this. I had with the Alderwood Residents Association at the same time, the same night, the GTA was holding their meeting. So Councillor Ford was representing me with the Deputy Mayor, and I think Councillor Holiday also was there representing me also, because I couldn't be in two places at one time. But it is a big issue in our ward, and I agree with Councillor Holiday's motion. You know, they've built all these new subdivisions up in Brampton, and there's signs up there that says warning of aircraft noise. So for people to say, you know what, we don't want them flying over here, we want to share the pain. They knew that was going to happen before they moved to the neighborhood. So I'm going to be supporting this motion with Councillor Holiday, and it's I'm sure this will go through the caucus of the MPs in Toronto with James Maloney as the chair of that. So we'll make sure that gets to the Toronto caucus of our federal government. Councillor Nunziata?
Just, Councillor Grimes, sorry, but why don't we amend the motion to include all the MPs of the Etobicoke York Community Council? Because I think we're all in that, like,
Or the Toronto caucus.
plan.
Well, I said, we'll make sure, and then we'll
Yeah.
ask, say.
Because I have planes in my ward too.
Okay, so.
Yeah,
We're gonna do it this.
to all the MPs in the Etobicoke York.
Why don't we went to the local MPs, and we'll ask them
Yeah.
before to the Toronto
Yeah.
caucus. Councillor Campbell, you've been good all day. Okay, we got that, Rosemary? Okay. So we'll take that as a package, is that okay? All in favor? We're gonna get that written down. So let's do Councillor Holiday's first. All in favor? Opposed, carried. My motion, all in favor? Opposed, carried. Clause amended, all in favor? Opposed, carried. EY 22.37, members of community council. So this one here is another one of mine. I'm asking to approve the naming of the Connerville Park Clubhouse, the Steve Whitey Brightener Clubhouse. That came a request from the baseball community at that park. Connerville Park is a park where some great baseball is being played there, and Whitey has been a big part of that organization for a very long time, and they've asked, he is very ill. He's suffering from cancer at this point, and we're not asking for the park, for the whole park, but just the clubhouse portion to honor Steve with the clubhouse name. Now, we have the policy has to be dealt with, but I asked Parks to come back, and they say that the report would come back because the living policy on the would not probably be supported. I'm just eliminating the step because it would come back no, so I'm just going to move it now to ask that we request Connerville Park Clubhouse become the Whitey Clubhouse. I don't think it's going to be contained, just a little portion of the park. Any questions? All in favor? I'd like a recorded vote, please. Councillor DeGiorgio, Councillor Doucette, Councillor Palacio, Councillor Nunziata, Councillor Grimes, Councillor Holiday, Councillor Campbell, and Councillor Ford. That carries unanimous. Thank you very much. Now, what do we have left? Um, 22.2, status update, City District St. Clair Avenue studies. Are you ready to deal with that?
No, he's not.
He's not?
So go to the next one.
Okay. Which one's that one? Okay. Have we got it? Okay, so I have one I have to add to the agenda. I have to. All in favor to add my 34 27th Street to attend the OMB appeal? All in favor? Opposed, carried on the agenda. And this is just sending staff to the OMB to defend our position at 34 27th Street. Yes. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. How about, Palacio 23, so we're waiting for Councillor Palacio and Councillor DeGiorgio.
Mr. Chair, I
Councillor
just
Ford,
have
point of order?
I have a question on 2223.
Yeah.
If I could be permitted to ask that now to save time.
Sure. So we're going to go to 23. Councillor Palacio's dealing, but go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question to staff. So I notice in this report, it's costing $560 to install one speed bump. But when you look at, and I'm looking at a different item on the agenda now, but 2224, it's costing $15,500 for 5 speed bumps. So I just want to understand the mathematics here.
Yeah, through the chair, there's a difference between a speed hump and a speed bump. So the speed bumps are a lot smaller. They're the ones you see in public lanes. They're the short ones that reduce your speed down to. And so, yes, there are a lot less asphalt needs to be put in, not as many pavement markings. So substantially different in their design. That's why the cost is different.
There's a difference between a bump and a hump.
Right. Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Any further questions? Councillor Campbell, can you filibuster for us? No, you don't. I was just kidding. I was kidding. Don't have to answer that, Bruce.
23, we actually, yeah, we are supportive of the bump.
Okay, we're in a holding pattern. Councillor George, are you ready to go? Okay, so we're going to deal with 21 now. Speed limit reduction, Linscombe Road. Councillor DeGiorgio.
What I'd like to do, Mr. Chairman, the thrust of my motion is to do almost like a pilot project. I want to explore something, and if you look at the motion, what I'm suggesting is, because the request is to reduce the speed limit to 30 kilometers per hour. And what I'm suggesting is, as we all know, that you have to have speed humps on the street to be able to qualify. Well, I know in select areas you don't need them, but in most areas, including mine, you need to have the actual speed humps approved before you actually qualify for the reduction in speed to 30 kilometers per hour.
It's changed, right?
No.
But
Well-
we can ask that.
Well, my motion, can you put up my motion? Oh, you're still, my motion essentially says have the Director of Transportation explore reducing the, let me read it because I forgot how I wrote it. To investigate the installation of 30 kilometers per hour on Linscombe Road, subject to a reduced number of speed humps being installed. And it's basically looking for, get additional information. I'm not asking that it be approved, I'm asking.
So it's a report
that it be
request.
investigated. Yeah, it's
It's a
almost,
report request. Bruce, you okay with that?
yeah.
Hold it. You okay with that?
Yeah, just, it would require us to report back on with a report about the reduced number of speed humps. 'Cause
So instead of investigate, should be report?
Whatever, all I'm asking is that,
You want to report back here?
yeah, I don't have a problem with reporting.
So Director of Transportation Service to report back on the installation of 30K and report back and investigate.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, one sec. I just want to get the wording down. One sec, guys. Hang on. Okay, hold it. Keep it here, guys.
If you're
Frank,
prepared,
Councilor, hold on. So the Director of Transportation Service report back and investigate the installation. So we're going to investigate and report back here.
okay, I'll
Okay.
tell you my
Hold,
problem.
Councilor DeGiorgio, hold it. Question, Councilor Campbell, of the mover.
A question of the mover? When do we do questions of staff? I can't do questions. Are there speed humps on this road?
No. Not yet.
So
There-
how can you have a reduced number if there's 0 there now?
First of all, there was a survey done. I think the numbers were very close. I'm just having I'm having this whole thing reviewed. They were very, I don't really want to put speed humps in on the street. Now, somebody says to me, why don't you just approve 30 kilometers per hour? I know that if I open the floodgates, the next street over is going to require the same thing. They're going to ask for the same thing. Well, it isn't good. It goes back to the moment you put a stop sign in that isn't warranted. Theoretically, people point to it.
Okay,
and
the
say,
question was there speed humps on the street?
there is no speed humps on the
Okay.
street. What I'm asking is,
We know what you're asking. We know.
that
We know what
staff
you're asking.
asked,
No, I'm actually confused because it says investigate the installation of 30 kilometers an hour, which staff has already said is not warranted, subject to a reduced number of speed humps which have not been recommended by staff. So to me, the motion makes no sense.
It's a report request, so let them
It
come back.
doesn't even say, it just says
No,
direct.
no, we changed it. We
changed it
changed
to a
it.
report
Report and
request.
investigate, it's gonna come
The
back here.
report would identify
Kick it
exactly
around
what you're
then.
saying, let's say.
All right? I think Bruce has got the gist of the motion, right? Okay.
He understands it.
Councillor Palacio.
Point of order is, Mr. Chairman, I just realized that
You have a
this item was deferred from the last meeting. I did declare a conflict of interest
Okay,
on this
conflict
one.
of interest.
I do have a property on this
All right, see ya.
in this location as well, so I'm going
Duly
to.
noted, conflict of interest, Councillor Palacio. Councillor Holiday, question.
Yeah, he owns a speed hump company.
Let me
Okay,
just,
question.
let me try this again, just to get it clear. We're going to request a report of the director to investigate speed reduction of 30 kilometers an hour on Liscombe Road instead of the installation of 30 kilometers an hour. It'd be the reduction to 30 kilometers an hour, subject to a reduced number of speed humps. So how does the number of speed humps come into the equation? Because I don't think that was in the report before us. It was a report request for reduced speed limit.
If I may answer, Councillor,
Please.
sometimes if staff says, here's what the number of speed humps are, if you get approval, or if you do a poll, and you ask people, you show them a map of a number of speed humps, and they may show 8 speed humps. On the other, and then people say no. The majority of people say no, or it's 50-50, it's a balancing act. So what I'm saying is, sometimes if you show them a map where there's a lower number of speed humps being proposed, it might sway the opinion of the people on the
I
street.
see. So this is to give it another go with a
Yeah,
different
it's
plan.
to give it
That's
another-
all it is.
All right, we got
So
that?
when this report comes, we will consider that, send it out for polling, do whatever we gotta do, but it's just a report with a different plan. Got it.
Okay, we all good? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, back to number 2, Councillor Palacio, we need you back. Both your items are left. Councillor Palacio?
He's gone.
It's like herding cats. Yeah, can you see if you can find them? Councillor Palacio? We got 22.2 and 23, both his items. He was working on a motion with Mr. Cresswell. You're not the guy we wanted.
Yeah, I have a couple of them, actually. The Albion Mall.
Heard he was on a health break. Councillor Palacio, number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have 3 recommendations on this one that I would like city staff to display on that one. The first one is that the item be forwarded to City Council for its consideration. Number 2, that's the one that I mentioned, that city planning and the legal staff is directed to bring forward the implementing bills. The implementing bills for the June City Council meeting. And so I have 3 recommendations that. So one is with the implementing bills,
Yeah,
and the last one is to have a working group, and that was revised by Mr. Creswell as well.
question the mover, Councillor Holiday.
Why is it going to council?
Through you, Chair, to the councillor, can I just have some help understanding why we have to make direction to release the bills? Because I thought that was automatic. Is there a condition that we're waiving through that action to have the bills released? Or can we not just rely on the process to
So-
have those bills go through?
So if I may, Councillor, can we maybe get Mr. Cresswell to make a comment? That'd probably be appropriate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I explained, Councillor Holliday, the action by NRT to withdraw the appeal on OPA 84 automatically brings the OPA into effect under the Planning Act. But we had held the bills on the zoning bylaw pending OPA 84 coming into effect. So we are going to be bringing the bills forward because it implements the actions of the Avenue study. It's just a question of when we can actually get those bills in front of council. What Councillor Palazzio's motion does is directs us to bring it to a specific council, being the July 6th council. We're hoping to get it there quick, but yeah.
Okay, okay. Okay, we all good with that? Okay, so there's two motions on the screen. We'll do the first one first on the bills. All in favor?
No, point of order, Mr. Chairman. I had three recommendations,
No, no.
perhaps to declare.
One is going
in
to,
terms
it's
of
going to council anyways. It has to go to council anyway, so you have two.
Okay, that's fair.
You only
So
have two.
The other two recommendations,
Okay,
that's great.
so the first one, I'm bringing the bills forward to the July meeting. All in favor? Opposed, carried. On the one on the screen about the working group, all in favor? Opposed, carried. Clause amended, all in favor? Opposed, carried. Okay, last item, 23, Councillor Palazzio. Proposed installation of additional speed hump in public lane system bounded by Goodwood Avenue, Dufferin Street, Ascot Avenue, and Boone Avenue. You held the item.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have an additional recommendation on this one that I have is spoken to city staff and this with the installation of these speed humps that were approved actually. And if we can display the recommendation there, please. And Mr. Bruce Clayton is in agreement with it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Motion's on the screen. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay, Councillor DeGiorgio, you have a motion to introduce and enact certain bills.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm, that the Etobicoke York Community Council pass and declare as bylaws Bills 492 to 502 and 534 to 535, prepared for the May 2nd, 2017 meeting 22 of Community Council.
Shall these bills be passed, declared as
Excluding Bill
bylaws?
500?
All in favor?
Oh, Mr. Chairman, excluding Bill 500 apparently. I didn't see this.
Excluding 500?
Excluding
All in
500.
favor?
That's the one in
Opposed?
your ward.
Carried. Councillor Crisanti, you have a motion, sorry, Deputy Mayor Crisanti.
That's
You have a
right.
motion to introduce and enact the firming bill.
I sure do, Mr. Chair, that the Etobicoke York Community Council pass and declare as a bylaw a confirmatory bill to confirm the legislative proceeding of the Etobicoke York Community Council acting under delegated authority at meeting 22nd on May 2nd, 2017.
Shall this bill be passed and declared as a bylaw? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Before I adjourn, do we adjourn? No, we don't adjourn. Recess till 6:30 tonight, and the councillor said they'd be here, please be here, because we could be in quorum problems. Thank you. Where is he? Who's he?